Hobo hunting is a real thing. Yesterday at about 4 p.m., February the 19th, I was hunted. I was in my shelter. It didn't go out much because everything is closed. It was something called Family Day up here in Canada. It's a national holiday. So I'm relaxing. I'm doing nothing. All of a sudden, I hear some noise outside of my shelter. I hear movement in my tarp, and so I say, "Hey, who's there? What do you want?" And exactly what I said was repeated. "What do you want?" And then no more response. I just hear a little bit more movement outside of my shelter, outside of my tent. If you've seen my videos, you know what my shelter looks like. It's basically a tent covered in some heavy-duty winterized tarps with 2x4s over it to make a teepee, and over that I have a very large green tarp to keep snow off and keep dry on the inside. Well, I hear some more movements, and then all of a sudden it comes down. What I believe happened was they pulled on the 2x4s and collapsed my shelter. Like they must, there had to have been two of them to pull them apart and break the string I had tying it up, collapsing it, having the wood and the outer tarp fall on my tent, collapsing my tent, breaking the tent poles, and collapsing down on me. I was laying down at the time because it's a small tent and I've hurt my knee, so there's not much I can do. And the worst thing was is I was trapped. I couldn't move. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't stand up to get out. It's a heavy thing, so I couldn't move. Mixed in with my bum knee, I was panicking. Now, where I'm located is very close to the highway, and at this time of day, there's nobody down there. And I can't even find my phone because, the tent just collapsed in on me. I don't know where anything is. So I couldn't make a phone call to save my life. And I could scream to the top of my lungs and no one would hear me because of my location and the time of day. I was pinned to the ground by those 2x4s and what remained of my tent. I struggled and moved for a half an hour trying to find a way to get out, but I was getting nowhere. And I kept thinking to myself, is this how I go out? Is this how it ends for me? Because not only now is my tent collapsed, I can't get out, and it's cold. It was -9. So I was talking to myself, like, what am I going to do? Because I'm starting to panic. I am fully going in panic mode. If this was any other day, I could scream for help, and my buddy Gary, he'd probably hear me and come to help me out. But he's not around, not until Thursday, because he went home to see his family. And I'm starting to shake and sweat because I think this is it. This is how I go out, crushed in my own shelter. But I'm still a very level-headed person, so I just ask myself, what can I do right now to get out? What can I do? What can I do? I ask myself, what do I have? Well, how can I get out of this? Because there's no way I'm getting to the door. It's all collapsed. There's no way I can get it unzipped. And I've got three 2x4s holding me down to the ground while this mess of a shelter is on top of me. But I remember I always do keep my knife in my pocket. I've got a small one just, to open cans. So I knew the only way out was to cut my way out. I was able to reach in my hand in my pocket and pull out my knife. Now through everything, because the tent collapsed and I'm so close to the tarps, it's very hot and I'm sweating. I'm starting to get dehydrated. But I grabbed my knife and I cut. I cut through the first layer of my tent and then through the second tarp. And I got through that. I could see the green tarp and I cut through that and I finally could see daylight and the cool air hit my face and I felt relieved. In total, it took me an hour to get out of it. I cut and I dragged myself out. I managed to get out and stand up. And in all honesty, throughout everything that's happened, I've never felt that close to the end before in my entire life, including all the time I've been out here. And then I had no shelter. It was collapsed and I had to cut through everything to get out. So I did the only thing I could do was I pulled it apart and I started looking for a new spot. I did find something not too far away, but a little bit more hidden than I was, even though I was very hidden. And I started to set up. It took me all night to get something set up. I ripped everything I had apart, brought my tent over, and found a way to use some rope and stuff to tie it up on the trees because all the poles are, snapped. I moved the tarp around so at least there's no big gaping hole to the outside, and it's all set sort of back up, and it'll do. But I just came from the dollar store to buy duct tape to seal all the holes and make it so I have an actual shelter again. Now, it says a lot. This just hasn't happened to me. I legitimately think they knew what they were doing and they left me there to die. I think I got very lucky that I was able to get out, but people like that, that's what they do. They go hobo hunting. And it's happened to a lot of people that I know. A lot of homeless is they see us as a target because they've got nothing better to do. They want to hurt someone, and who else are they going to hurt but the people who are very marginalized, people who can't fight back, people who have no recourse. So I can go to the police, and I'll tell you what they'll say to me, which there's nothing they can do. That maybe I should not be there, or maybe I should, go to a shelter, even though they're all full. And no matter what, there's nothing I can do. Like, I can move around every day again. That would be the only defense. But that's not really an option because the weather. And there's no other people around me. The people who got hit before, who had the same thing happen to them, all their stuff gone and ripped out, they're about a half an hour to 45-minute walk from my shelter. So these guys they're just going around hunting for people to hurt. Most importantly, I'd like to know what's actually going through their heads. What are they thinking when they do this to hurt another person? I just think they don't see us as human. And that really hurts.